right, welcome back. Welcome back, you guys.
What's up, my winners?
It's AJ and John from BCCS Sports, and this is Bustin Chops Callin Shots, your Monday episode recap from the weekend. And man, what a weekend it was. College is rolling, NFL week 1. So good to be back. So good to see all of our favorite teams out there. A ton of great games to go over this weekend. It was good for some and not so good for others. So John, how are you feeling this morning? You kind of, what's the temperature in the room right now?
Well, it goes back to the noise, right? And I always preach it, but again, I didn't walk it because the whole off season in the past couple weeks, I said Seattle was trash. And, everybody, Seattle. And if you go back to episode maybe 79 or 80, I had said, oh, the Rams plus 5.5 is good value. And you guys were, the Rams. So anyway, Seahawks, I get rolled. Pittsburgh, I knew I was a sucker there because everybody in the world that was the trendiest dog on the block was the Pittsburgh Steelers. They get absolutely, I don't even know what happened that game.
Yeah, they got boat raced a little bit on that one.
Yeah, I was coaching all day, so I didn't even get to see it. And then the New York Giants,
Yeah.
Gosh. Boy, how your eyes can deceive you and the hype can deceive you. And I still don't think Dallas is that good. Look, it's hard to say 40-0 you were close. We were never close.
Yeah.
I'm just saying you're down there about to go in for a touchdown. The center can't snap the ball correctly. You have a blocked field goal that goes for a touchdown. The very next possession, you hit Barkley, ball pops out, running for it. So you're 13-0 for the Cowboys offense even took the field. So the game was over right at that point.
Right.
But it was something crazy. Like Daniel Jones had been, at one point they had brought up 22 dropbacks and had been hurried on 18 of them. The guy never had time. So, and again, this is why I don't play fantasy. You guys got me in this stupid fantasy freaking league. I draft Pittsburgh and Dallas's defense, but I play Pittsburgh's defense.
Oh, geez.
Play that buzzard Sky Moore that couldn't catch a cold in the middle of a freaking blizzard, shirtless. So it was rough. But we got the Raiders came in. That cashed for us, so that was very good. Our Browns-Packers teaser cash. Should have gave out the Packers straight. Remember, I told you guys Jordan Love and the Packers, way too much talent. I told you the Bears were overrated.
Yep.
I'd said that all year. That came true. I should have gave out the Jags money line, but, I hate doing that. And I always, John, you never lay juice on the road and you're laying $1.90. But I knew there was no way the Colts were going to beat them. For the Redskins, look, I told you, Sam Howell sucks. Nobody wants to listen to me. They should have got beat by what probably is going to be the worst team in the league. So those were my takeaways, on the gambling day, still positive.
Yep.
Tonight I'm a little torn, right? But I think I'm going to roll with the Jets. It's +2. I'd like to get +3. You got to lay $1.50 to buy it to 3. So I think I'll do that and take the Jets +3 tonight.
Gotcha. Yeah, tonight we'll go over definitely go over more in depth all the games, but excited for tonight. Should be a good game.
Your
Bills,
boy, it's your guy.
Yeah, the Bills. I'm excited to see Aaron Rodgers beat them. Definitely that out of division rival that I have, but it's not all about me. That's okay. But we're gonna jump into all that stuff, and it was again, it was a fun weekend, right? We saw some really kind of exciting games. A lot of games go ways that no one thought they would. Obviously, in some situations, that's not ideal for us when it comes to the betting side and sort of some of the stuff we had out there. But as a fan, it was really cool. It was really fun. My team, it was a rough day for the Titans, so it wasn't great there, but still really a great game to watch, and they're pretty much in it the whole time. There was a couple other games where even though a team that lost that shouldn't have lost was ended up getting the L, they were in it the whole time. So it was what we expect from NFL. We knew we were going to have at least one game that kind of went really crazy, and I think that was last night's game. I think that was the Dallas and Giants game. That were, you just sort of scratch your head a little bit. Thought it was going to be a lot closer than that, but we'll jump into all that for sure.
Yeah, it was again, it wasn't from a betting side. On like I said, we hit all the teasers except one. Titans did cash for us, so that was very good. I kicked myself for not putting them in the contest, so I did. Even through my traveling woes, which Buttigieg, what a disaster that guy is. I mean, he came. Yeah,
you had some travel. You had some travel issues.
I had the worst experience, and it honestly just ruined my whole weekend, my whole mentality, everything. But we did get in the Circa Millions contest. Survivor, we had the Commanders, which they tried to screw that up every which way to Sunday. But we move on. And then in the contest, we had the Steelers plus 2.5. That was a loss. Had the Browns plus 2.5. That was a win. We had Seattle minus 5.5. That was a loss. And the Giants plus 3. That was a loss. So we are rough. 1-3. We really need the Jets tonight to go 2-3 for the week, but not off to the start I would like. So I don't know what it is with me and slow starts at the beginning of seasons.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus, Mary and Joseph. It's like if I just took the first month off, I'd be at 85%. I don't know what it is, but some of them bad beats. Well, I know we'll get into a couple later, but especially college, that one. Ugh.
Yeah, we saw it in college week 1, and then college this week was better, but still not where we wanted it to be.
Yeah.
But what do you expect? I mean, you're going to expect to come out, and there's only so much research you can do. It's, during preseason and training camp and all that stuff. There's going to be stuff that comes out you just did not expect. And, I do expect us to turn it around because, you make that point as the public continues to, probably won quite a bit this week, and as the season goes on, things are going to start to level out for sure. So I think that's definitely going to happen. But let's go ahead and jump into some college for sure. What do you think?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so I thought, let me pull up my thing here. So, college again, we're still in that phase where some of these teams are playing, some cupcakes. So, there wasn't a ton of action, but we did see some, quite a few games that, we wanted to talk about. I mean, the most important one is being Texas topping Alabama 34-24. Going into Tuscaloosa, winning that game. Texas looked good. Ewers looked amazing. It was a really great game to watch. I didn't get to catch most of it because we were out celebrating my sister-in-law's birthday. As I'm sure,
happy birthday.
Yeah, Chelsea, Jake's wife, Chelsea. So shout out to Chelsea, big 3-5. So we were having fun in downtown Nashville, which I need to rant a little bit. Downtown Nashville, for those of you, we live about 40 minutes from it, so we go in there very rarely, very occasionally. But downtown Nashville is a complete S show. So if you're coming here to visit, I hope you enjoy it. But it is a long ways from what it was when I moved here in 2008. 2012. It's just a wild place down there. But we were able to at least sit down at a restaurant and watch some of the game, and it looked like it was a really great game. But I have to give the props to Texas here. And what are the implications? Moving into obviously them coming in the SEC. And Alabama just looking like, I don't know, they're just not the Thanos sort of character that we've always thought they were going to be the last 2 years. And what do we think what do we think Alabama is going to be moving forward into this season and even into seasons beyond with Nick Saban?
Well, first of all, we had Texas plus the 7.5, so that cashed for us. That was a good winner. I'd said on the last show, as a little bit of a hypocrite, I was like, I can't see him going in there and beating Alabama. And as the public started to go more and more Alabama, I actually gave Texas out like midday Saturday.
Yeah.
Right? I didn't give it out originally. I was like, nah, all signs point to Texas plus 7.5, right? But what I can't understand about Alabama, AJ, is the fact that you're Alabama and they can't get a quarterback.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, you know,
There's always been one that was just waiting in the wings, ready to come in. And this season,
Mac Jones, Bryce Young,
yeah.
Tua, and Joe Milroe's not the guy. I mean, that guy missed a lot of throws. Now, Alabama still had explosive plays. They still had an opportunity to win, right? But they're not the same Alabama. Flip to the other side, Texas, they're in a great position now.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I'm sitting here looking at their schedule. They got Wyoming this week. They go to Baylor, right? You know, Baylor, Shapen will probably be back. They really hung in there against Utah. But if Texas cannot hit that, you know, they host Kansas. Then they got the big one, the Red River rivalry with Oklahoma.
Yep.
But all their big games, they host Kansas. They host Kansas State. They host Texas Tech. So their only one is late November. They're at TCU. So if they can kind of, I mean, their schedule sets up favorable.
Yes.
Right? Yeah. Like, Texas is kind of in the same boat of Florida State. You got one, maybe two tests, and other than that, it's clean sail. So for me, the three teams that are really in the driver's seat of this thing are Georgia, Texas, and Florida State, just the way their schedule sets up.
Yeah.
Like, all three of these teams can easily go undefeated. And then you got Michigan that is just beating the brakes off people. So I'm sure a lot's going to change, right? It's early, but the schedule is really favorable for Texas and Florida State.
Yeah, that was it, right? I mean, they needed to get this one out of the way, and they kind of can write their own ticket here to the college football playoff if they want it. Same with Florida State.
Yes.
I mean, surely there's going to be a misstep throughout the season, you would think, but they look good. Sarkisian is so far, you know, off the hot seat. I don't know if he ever was really, but I think you thought he was.
I just wanted to see him win big game. I mean, he's got talent. I mean, you're Texas, for God's sakes. Like, I just want somebody to get that train a humming.
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, Texas is in the driver's seat, no doubt, here moving forward. So we'll see how that all plays out. But another game that we had a close eye on because of what happened last week was the Colorado game. Nebraska at Colorado. You know, and I think this game, you know, didn't start out the way that we all thought it would. You know, it was a pretty low scoring game in the first half. I mean, only 13 points put up by Colorado in the second quarter. You know, eventually it did turn into a little bit of a game, but Colorado does eventually pull away 36-14. Shedeur Sanders still looked great. You know, didn't have the, you know, record-breaking week he had the week before. But yeah, Colorado
still
gets the win.
393 yards.
Yeah, 2 touchdowns, 393 yards. I mean, he still looked great. And then, you know, you got to know that the Colorado fans are excited with that atmosphere and how everything played out against Nebraska.
Yeah, I just continue, you know, Travis Hunter only 3 catches, 73 yards, but Xavier Weaver 10 catches, 170 yards. Jimmy Horn 8 catches, 60. Like, they just got dudes everywhere at the skill positions.
Yeah.
Like, they just got dudes. So now this week they're going to host Colorado State. They're laying 23.5. And then after that, they go to Eugene, which there is a look-ahead line number. What do you think that is at Eugene?
At Eugene. Let's see.
And I want to see if it changed here, so I'm going to pull it up just to see.
I would think Oregon's still favored, but maybe...
Oregon is still favored.
Maybe 4? Oregon favored by 4?
Well, listen, Saturday midday after the Colorado game, it was Oregon laying 19.5. Now it's down to Oregon laying 14.5.
Oh, wow. See, I was way off. I'm giving that Colorado, I guess, too much credit there.
But look, 14.5, that's just way too many points.
Yeah, I think so.
I mean, I don't think Oregon's that good. I mean, I know everybody's in love with Bo Nix, but I mean, I am just not a fan nor a believer. I mean, we had Texas Tech Saturday, and what a crushing. I mean, when you're catching 7.5 and you're down 1 with 35 seconds in the ball, and you get beat by an interception by a defensive lineman running it to the house. I mean, that's about as bad of a beat as it gets.
Yeah. Yeah. And usually those are the types of beats that we get.
Yeah, well, I mean, we're, instead of being one game or 500, we're 3 Saturday. And the whole world changes, right? Yeah. So one bad beat can just really shove it to you, man.
Yeah. Oregon went to Texas State, Texas Tech, as you mentioned. They did get the win 38-30. So just wanted to make sure we went over that part of the game too. It looks like, and I didn't get to watch any of this game, so more than I do. But Texas Tech was hanging in there. It looked really good for us, but fourth quarter, Oregon pulls away and really, didn't look great. Obviously, Bo Nix had a really good day, 359 for 2 touchdowns, but not the blowout Oregon that we would have expected, and certainly, just a little bit, not quite as close as we would have wanted it to be, as we thought it was going to be.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, we're down a point with 35 seconds in the ball. There's only one thing that can beat you. Only one thing can beat you, and so I'm able to find those things that can beat me late. So, but look, Colorado, we had that money line. We should have laid up. I should have made that again. Gotta fight out the noise, right? Again, don't let your eyes deceive you. Nebraska can't score, right? And they did hang in there with them defensively.
Yep.
But the reality of the situation is Colorado wasn't losing that game. So winner with Colorado, winner with Texas, loser with Texas Tech. So yeah.
Another win that we got was the Tulane game. And was it Tulane or Toledo?
No, Tulane we lost. We had we were covering the game with 3 minutes left and all hell broke loose.
Yeah.
Ole Miss scored defensive touchdown after defensive touchdown. So that put us at 2-2. We lost the NC State game, which again, that was 24-17, and all of a sudden that got out of hand really, really fast. The Tulane game was frustrating because, like I said, we're covering that game. I mean, Tulane is going in to tie the game with like 5 minutes left and turn it over. That was just so that in the Texas Tech game, we were on the right side. Just it all fell apart late, and it really hurt us.
Yeah, and that was a fun game to watch earlier at the noon start time. To see Tulane, and obviously I think Ole Miss is pretty good. I'm sort of a fan of Lane Kiffin and what he's doing down there. Obviously, to a degree, right?
You're not scoring the woman about how he left Tennessee?
No, I'm not. Because I kind of followed his career at USC before that, and I was already kind of a fan. And look, I mean, it was kind of messed up, but I'm pretty happy where Tennessee's at now. I think it was all for a reason, as they say, right?
All for a reason.
But Ole Miss, Tulane game was really interesting. It looked like there was quite an electric crowd there at Tulane. And they were hanging in there. They looked really, really good. And unfortunately,
without
Ole Miss,
the quarterback.
Yeah, exactly. And Ole Miss still pulls away. But it did look like they really had a shot there.
Well, what I couldn't understand is, again, I keep up with injury report and all that. This thing with Pratt, the quarterback, was not a big deal. And then all of a sudden, 10 minutes before game time, Pratt warms up. He's going to try to give it a go, and then all of a sudden he's not going.
Yeah.
So look, if Pratt plays the 8.5, I feel great about it. They announce he's not playing. Line goes up to 13. Doesn't matter. Me and the rest of the guys are already stuck at 8.5. So it was just a really, really unfortunate thing. Like I said, the nightcap. Other than the Texas Tech debacle, we had Texas plus 7.5 outright winner. Rice plus 8.5 at home against Houston as outright dog. They win 43-41, so we get the cover there. And then Wisconsin at Washington State. We have Washington State plus the 6. That gets across the finish line for us there. But another home dog that did not get across the finish line was San Diego State. And I was really impressed with UCLA AJ, because
Mm.
they just, they're a beneficiary of a soft schedule here in the beginning. They're another team, Pac-12 implications, that as the season goes on, they're going to get better, right?
Sure.
Because they got a whole new quarterback lineup and all that. So I think as the season goes on, they're going to get better. So we had the loss there with San Diego State. Again, Saturday still winning day, just not the day it should have been.
Yeah, and the Pac-12 again just comes out and looks really good, right? UCLA gets a win against San Diego State. Obviously, Colorado's looking great. We know that. Oregon State, Oregon, Utah all get the win. So yeah, and obviously USC beats Stanford pretty handily, 56-10. So Pac-12 is looking really good this year. It's a shame that it's going to be completely decimated at this point. It's moving.
The best year ever in the history of the Pac-12 is its last year.
Yeah, it's quite a bummer. But another big loss that we had was that NC State game, as you mentioned. Notre Dame is rolling. Notre Dame's still looking good. So what were your takeaways on that game?
Well, look, I mean, first of all, that and a couple of these other games had these long weather delays.
Yeah.
For lightning and all that. So that really kind of made the day kind of wonky.
It was a weird one.
But like I said, that game was close. It was 24-17, 27-17. And NC State, again, going down to score, turn it over. And then after that, it was like Notre Dame was like, oh, what? We're only up, 7-10 points, time to hit the gas. And they just exploded. And Sam Hartman,
4
people
touchdowns,
need to start talking about him more, not because I'm a Notre Dame fan, me and Chop as well, represent my gear this morning, but people need to start talking about Notre Dame because they're the real deal, man. Notre Dame is the real deal. And that's another team. Notre Dame's another team that the schedule, they get Central Michigan this week. They're laying 31.5. But after that, Notre Dame, if they can get by Ohio State, the week after next, they host Ohio State. They were an 8.5-point dog. God, I hope the line stays that way because it put a suitcase on Notre Dame. But if after that Ohio State game, they're at Duke, which Duke has looked formidable. Louisville, but then they host USC. Host Pittsburgh, and then on the road to Clemson's the last one. So other than Clemson and Duke, you get Ohio State and USC at home. Here's what's fascinating is as the playoff starts to take shape, right? Depending on where the loss was at, with their schedule, man, a one-loss Notre Dame team is going to be really hard to keep out of the playoff.
Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think, well, you just pointed out a good piece there when it comes to the other teams like Florida State, Michigan, and Georgia. I do think they drop one of those games, either that USC game or Ohio State. But I don't see how they can, if they do, I don't see how they can get in, given some of the other schedules that these, since there's only 4 teams we have to pick from. It's going to be a really, really hard year when it comes to the 4 teams that the committee is going to have to obviously choose. Would I like to see a 1-loss Notre Dame? Sure. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's exciting, but I don't know. I'm hesitant to say that that's going to happen just because of where I think we're going to see 4 potentially undefeated teams. That's just going to be hard to leave on the outside looking in.
So let me ask you this: 1-loss Texas. Let's say they get tripped up by somebody. 1-loss Notre Dame, right? 1-loss Ohio State. All right. And 1-loss Florida State. And you can only pick 2.
You can only pick 2? I think 1-loss Ohio State, get them out. Nope. Just because they haven't impressed, and I don't think they're that good. Anyways, 1-loss, I'd say Notre Dame. 1-loss Notre Dame, and then Texas or Florida State. I'm going to have to say, oh man, that's tough. I'm going to have to say the 1-loss Texas.
Okay.
Those are my two. One loss Notre Dame, one loss Texas. If that was the case.
Yeah.
If we had two undefeated teams that were just obviously in, and we had to pick 2 1-lossers, yeah, that'd be my pick.
All right, fair enough. I was just curious about where AJ's mind was.
Yeah, I mean, Texas really impressed me, right? I mean, Florida State, it's tough to say, that they would be left out of that, but man, that was just really impressive what they did in Tuscaloosa. I mean, so that's my reasoning. I mean, I don't know how it's all going to play out, but I mean, you got who knows what happens with Tennessee? 1-loss Tennessee there, and so there's
you go. Had to plug your boys. I hear you.
I could see them at least, definitely dropping at least one. Yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be really, really tough. The other game that I definitely did want to just mention was that Miami and Texas A&M, although it doesn't have a ton of implications, right? Jimbo Fisher, man, he just can't get things right down there in College Station. Like that was another one where it wasn't necessarily an upset or, some kind of barn burner or anything, but the way that they just, strong armed Texas A&M, they were at home, but still, that's something I got a close eye on. What's going to happen with this Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M thing, man? What a mess.
I know, and all the recruits he's gotten right. He's recruited well. They have talent, and they come right out 7-0 out of the gates. And shout out to Mario Cristobal and the U. I always give Miami a hard time because I want them to go back to the old Miami.
Yep.
That was a big win for them. Texas A&M, they're a little bit of a conundrum, like you said, right? Like you just don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, these guys, but watch, they'll have a big game later in the year against LSU or Alabama and win. Like they're just so erratic, which again, all Jimbo Fisher teams have been erratic. It's like national championship team, college football playoff team, or you're a middle of the road team that drops a bunch of games you should.
Yep. Yeah, definitely. Another game that I circled that I really was keeping a close eye on as it progressed out was the App State at North Carolina. North Carolina obviously looked great last week. Played
another
amazing.
one I should have had.
Yeah, and App State hung in there, with them, and North Carolina obviously getting a touchdown to go ahead at the end of the game and in overtime. But gosh, yeah, that was a game that I was like, is App State going to do this again? Or are we going to see this again? So people got to watch out for App State.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And just on another note, looking ahead to next week, because right when the lines come out, okay, last night I was like, all right, let's start doing the work for next week. Usually I take Sunday night and Monday up. I'm just so freaking frustrated that I wanted to get into the lab quick. Yeah. And I'm really interested to see how this Michigan State thing unfolds, especially now with Mel Tucker, right? And all that situation. I don't expect him to be back. It's obviously a very sensitive subject, but the details are a little odd on this, right? Which I don't understand. Apparently it was all over the phone. So like, it's just very odd, but I think Mel Tucker
up to speed on what's going on. Pretend like I don't know anything. Pretend like I don't know anything, which is true actually. So you don't have to pretend.
So it's a sexual harassment thing, right? Apparently, the young lady who had already unfortunately been in an episode years ago where she was, raped by 4 college kids, right?
Oh, geez. Oh.
Yeah, which is just totally sad. But apparently Mel Tucker harassed her and like called her on the phone and did his business while he was on the phone with her.
Sheesh.
Yeah, so just the whole thing's odd. And it's just a sad situation, but I mean, I don't see how Mel Tucker coaches another game for Michigan State.
Yeah, I can't see
that, I don't see how he survives that, right? And if he's guilty, look, again, innocent until proven guilty, right?
Right.
So I'm not getting it, but I'm just saying, I wonder, that Michigan State line was 14, which they were catching 14 at home. Now they're catching 16.5 at home. Mike D'Antoni is actually going to come back and help, the old Michigan State coach for years.
Yep.
He's going to come back and help coach. So I just wonder, Last year everybody was on Michigan State at Washington. I was actually in the Mirage last year and had a ton on Washington, and they got the outright win as a dog at home. And Washington's one of the better teams in the country. But I'll be interested to see as news flows this week, where does that line end up?
All right, well, let's jump into some NFL. As we talked about, there was quite a few exciting games that went on. So we're just going to kind of go down the card real quick in order and from top to bottom. Of course, at the top for me is the Titans because I have them favorited in this app that I'm using. So we'll just hold on to that for a second. But let's go over. We obviously went over the Thursday night game on the last episode because we were together, which was really fun, and we got to actually go over that.
That was great, man.
So I think we've done that ad nauseum at this point. Falcons, Panthers go to Atlanta. Falcons get the win, 24-10. Bryce Young, obviously still kind of getting his feet under him. It was a really impressive day by the Falcons. I didn't expect them to be at that electric. Especially was it Bijan Robinson that had that really cool? Was it like a little 7 or 10 yard, like shake and bake kind of thing that got him into the end zone? But the Falcons get the win against the Panthers, and as you said, the Panthers might start out a little slow here, so this is probably to be expected.
Yeah, I mean the Panthers going to start out slow, but look, that game was 7-7 early. Bryce Young had that touchdown pass. I'm like, okay, they're going to hang around. And then Atlanta they got a lot of talent, Allgeier and Bijan Robinson in the backfield, Kyle Pitts, Drake. I mean, they got a lot of talent, way more talent than the Carolina Panthers have. So I think as the season moves on, Carolina's going to be much better. I don't believe Atlanta is as good as what the score indicated. I'm not. Okay. A lot of people were on Atlanta. I'm just not on Atlanta. And as we learned yesterday, John has to stick with his convictions of all his studying and not listen to the noise about trash teams like the Giants and the Seahawks.
There you go. The other one that was quite a bit of a shocker, rainy day in Cleveland, but the Bengals go in there and just really look completely incapacitated. I mean, they didn't have anything going. The Browns looked really good. Their defense is just showing out big time. So you got to give them a bunch of credit. Obviously, Deshaun Watson started out a little slow, but he comes up with 154 yards and a touchdown. So, enough to get them to win 24-3. But gosh, and Bengals even pulled out Burrow and some of their other starters at the end, just kind of waved the white flag there because, man, they just looked completely out of sorts on that game.
Well, hey, look, for the Bengals and Burrow's now 1-5 against the Brownies.
Yeah.
Right. So
yeah, they got his number. Yeah.
Yeah. He just doesn't play well against Cleveland. We should have had him straight. We had him in the teaser with Green Bay. Obviously had him in the circa millions. Had Cleveland, but look, Cleveland, a team that we talk about. I think they're sneaky, right? I just think they're sneaky. They have a lot of talent. Stefanski, I think he's a great play caller. So for them, it's just about, can Deshaun Watson get back to anything like he was, even just a semblance of what he was?
Yeah.
And if he is, Cleveland's off and rolling because they got talent, man.
Yeah, definitely. And it looked like he's getting to that point. I saw some plays from him. It looks like that Deshaun wants him an old, here and there. So if he can keep that consistent, yeah, I think Cleveland's really, really scary. Really scary. Let's jump into the Titans and Saints. So the Titans go to New Orleans, and man, obviously as a fan, a frustrating day to watch, but even not as a fan, just a casual watcher. I mean, you just got field goals all the way until the third quarter.
Baby.
Saints finally got, a touchdown on the board. Derek Carr threw a touchdown pass, a little leak out that looked really good. And honestly, I like Derek Carr, and I think he's a good fit in New Orleans. So I am, as a casual watcher, obviously interested to see how the rest of the season plays out for them. But the one thing I can say for the Titans, their defense really is still what we thought they were. Last year, Jeffrey Simmons, Kevin Byard, some of these guys just still playing really, really well. So that was the only reason this was close. But the offense looked terrible. Tannehill was under pressure a ton. Couldn't really get the ball off. Offensive line still a big issue, but the Saints get the win 16-15. And thank goodness they didn't get a touchdown at the very end there, John, or the Saints, that is, didn't get a touchdown at the end, because that would have hurt our bet we had on that
disastrous.
One.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Titans do cover for us. We had the Titans plus 3.5. Told everybody to buy the hook. But yeah, I mean, it wasn't the it was a real defensive slugfest, right? Yeah. I mean, even Derek Carr didn't look good. The Saints never really got to go. And this is the problem I have with Dennis Allen, the coach of the Saints, is they're just, when he gets around the team, the offense is just absolutely inept, right?
Yeah. I mean, and they didn't look great. Obviously, they have some weapons that Olave and Michael Thomas is coming back looking really good. But, you would expect a little bit more offense from them given the weapons they have. Absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. And moving on over to another AFC South game, the Jaguars at the Colts. Jaguars end up getting the win 31-21. Honestly, the Colts looked a lot better than I expected. Richardson looked actually decent. He had obviously some really rookie mistakes and some dumb stuff he's doing, especially like trying to run the ball and sort of hammer into defensive guys like he did in college. And not slide and stuff like that. So they got a long ways to go, but yeah, this game is a lot closer than I expected. Your Prince gets the win, 241 yards and 2 touchdowns. So yeah, I was really intrigued by how close this was. Maybe it was just a game, week 1 jitters or something like that, but the Jaguars do eventually get the win.
103.8 QBR rating for the Prince.
God. Yeah. Okay.
And now the Chiefs roll into town next week, and they roll into town laying 3.
Mm-hmm. You like that, don't you?
I love that.
You're all over that.
And, look, DeMar Hamlin takes a step on the field. He's automatically going to win comeback player of the year, like even if he only plays 1 snap.
Yeah.
But I'm telling you what, man, I told you, Calvin Ridley, 8 catches, 101 yards.
He looked good. Yep.
Man's a beast. Man is a beast. And if he doesn't lose that fumble, this is really a 38-21 game.
Mm-hmm.
So, Jacksonville, right? Here I get my Prince jersey. And let me tell you something. Tennessee, they play the Chargers next week. You could be staring 0-2 down the barrel, my friend.
Yeah. Yep.
It's like, I'm aware, John. I'm aware.
Definitely. Yeah. 0-2. And if Tannehill doesn't start playing better, and granted, I'm not going to throw all the hate on him. It was, it's a young and inexperienced offensive line. But, if this thing turns south, I could see Will Levis popping in there if we're 0-4 or something like that.
Oh, wow. You're already going that way? Oh, AJ.
What?
You sold out like the Boston Tea Party.
Just if it goes south here in a couple weeks, I'm just saying, you got to show me something. You got to show me something here, guys. Come on.
Oh,
yep.
And weren't you just comparing Ryan Tannehill to Jared Goff the other day?
No, I said Derek Carr is a younger version of Ryan Tannehill. You asked me if we wanted him on when he was on the trading block, and that was no Jared Goff. No, I don't think I did. Although they're probably pretty similar.
No, they are not.
Hey, easy. I mean, that's, I know he's your top 10 boy, but, not everyone thinks like that.
Yeah.
All right. The Buccaneers and the Vikings, honestly, shocked. 20-17, the Buccaneers get the win in Minnesota. Baker, your boy Baker, man.
Baker.
He did what he needed to do. Surprised that the Buccaneers looked as good as they did, and the Vikings really didn't. Cousins had a good day, 344 for 2 touchdowns and an interception, and Jefferson had 9 receptions for 150 yards. But it was the Buccaneers that I was actually really impressed with how they hung in this game. We did not expect that from the Bucs.
Yeah, well, for Minnesota, Kirk the Squirt had 2 fumbles. That's what did them in.
Yep.
And then Baker Mayfield, 21 of 34, 2 tubs, no picks. he had a better QBR than Pat Mahomes, for what that's worth. So
Hey.
not only does he have better commercials, he had a better QBR than Pat Mahomes this week.
Yeah.
So that has to make Chop feel really good going down to Florida Georgia line there at Jacksonville this week. But look, now Minnesota, another team that I'm high on. Everybody said they were going to fall this week. I'm still high on them. I'm not giving up on them. But look, now they turn right around Thursday and go to Philly, a place where they've gotten ripped apart every time they go there. So Philly, line open 7.5. Now Philadelphia is laying 8. That is not the place. So Minnesota, they're staring 0-2 down the barrel. So a lot of good teams, Tennessee, Minnesota, putting yourself in an 0-2 hole is not a way to make a living.
No, definitely not in this league for sure. Although I'm a little, in NFL, you don't take the losses as hard as, so there's such parity in the league. You don't take them as hard as you do, say, in like college or something like that. There's definitely, if you drop the first game, it's, it's not the end of the world. There's a lot of football left to be played. 0-2, you're like, okay, well, now we got to turn it on a little bit. And anything past that, you got to basically win out in order to get the division and obviously the wild card. So, but yeah, I thought Baker was impressive. I'm still a fan of the Vikings too. I still like their pieces that they have. But Kirk Cousins, this is a big year for him. They have a lot to prove going into next week for sure up in Philly.
Yeah, I mean, and we know Kirk in prime time. I'm a huge Cousins guy.
Mm-hmm.
But stats are stats, and he hasn't played well under the lights. So this is going to be really interesting which way the wind blows on this for them.
For sure. Yep. And then another game that you mentioned, it was a bad beat when it comes to obviously the betting side. But honestly, it was, I told you, I'm not as high on the Steelers as you are. Like, I'm not, I like Mike Tomlin. I think, he's great. But I just feel like, last year it was impressive what they did and came back and still getting a winning record. But this year I'm not as high on them, but I didn't expect them to be this wide in this game. The 49ers go into Pittsburgh and beat them 30-7, and props to the 49ers. They're just picking up from last year. McCaffrey looked amazing. Ayuk looked great. Purdy looked good. And I know you probably hate to hear that, but 49ers really don't even make it close at any point in the game, which was surprising.
Well, look, when you got Christian McCaffrey that goes for 22 carries for 152 yards, it's pretty easy to, look good. I mean, look, the defense swallowed up Pittsburgh. I'm not out on Pittsburgh. I'm not going to throw them to the Wolves. They host the Browns on Monday Night Football next week. Pittsburgh -1 in that. So I'm not, they got to win that game. Again, 0-2 is not the way to make a living in the NFL, right?
Yeah.
But San Francisco, they were just in control of that game, and the defense and special teams really controlled that. So again, Purdy is able to, 19 of 29. That ain't great. But when you have McCaffrey going off and, Ayuk, 8 receptions, 129 yards on 8 targets. So everything they threw at Ayuk, he caught. Debo 5 for 55. So, I mean, really, you only had 4 guys catch passes: Ayuk, Samuel, Kittle, and McCaffrey, the usual suspects. So it wasn't that Purdy looked great, but again, this is what sets up for San Francisco quarterbacks, right?
Yeah.
Defense, run the football, those quick little hitters. And again, I'm not shocked that Pittsburgh lost. San Francisco, I mean, they're a really great team.
Sure.
But that they boat raced them. And I'm more concerned at how Pittsburgh's defense looked.
Okay.
Because that defense is supposed to be the number 1 defense. And, I mean, they look atrocious. Absolutely atrocious. So, I expect Tomlin to get them right. I know the Browns boat raced the Bengals. I know the Steelers got boat raced. Now the Steelers are only laying 1. It's early. It's Monday. Let's let the week play out. But I definitely have the Steelers as a play I've written down that I just want to see which way it moves because I think there's good value there. I expect them to bounce back.
Okay. You said something there that perked up my ears. Is the word atrocious?
Yeah.
Atrocious. Is this
Yeah.
gonna be? Do we need to add this to the dictionary? What is
Atrocious is a word.
atrocious?
Yeah, it's a word.
What does it mean?
Disastrous.
You mean atrocious?
Yeah, and atrocious.
Yep. Adding that one to the dictionary that we're
Yeah,
putting
what did
together.
I say?
Your work, this is your life's work. This dictionary, this autobiographical
You know.
autobiographical dictionary that you guys heard about last show. So we just keep adding more to it. It's gonna be great.
Hey, your lips to God's ears.
All right, let's jump over to the Cardinals at the Commanders. I know you
Oh,
probably
my
are all up in
gosh.
your feelings about this for whatever reason, but yeah, the Cardinals didn't.
I
look
was
good.
right, America. I was right. New owner, flashy new uniforms, still no quarterback.
Yeah, I mean Sam Howell did good enough to get them close. Obviously get them the win. But what do you say about this game? Cardinals look terrible. Josh Dobbs, honestly, at times Josh Dobbs, can look good depending on what team he's on, but did not look good in this game. I don't really have much to say here, but the Commanders did get the win, and yeah. So there you go. I don't know. I'm sure you have some thoughts.
I mean, look, if you're Washington, all I heard was, because I was driving, so I had the local station on, all for the first time since 2012, the other team's fans aren't overrun the stadium. It's all burgundy and gold. It's like the good old days. Let me tell you something. In the good old days, we had a quarterback, which that was even way before 2012. We ain't had a quarterback since freaking Joe Theismann, really.
7 different starters in the last 7 years or something like that.
Yeah, listen. At this point, I'd love to have Kirk Cousins back. Sam Howell sucks. Okay, I don't know what else I got to say. I don't know. The guy blows. Okay, lay him out there in San Francisco with a box and a bucket for change, because it's the same thing. The guy is not an NFL quarterback, but this sets up great because now they go to Denver. I hope they get, but I just need them to keep losing and losing and losing. So they fire Riverboat, big hole in it, Titanic Rivera. And we can get a top 5 pick and maybe get the first franchise quarterback since Theismann's leg got snapped like a chicken wing in 1986 on Monday Night Football.
Ooh.
We haven't had a franchise quarterback. And you say, well, John, you won 2 Super Bowls after that. Listen, those teams were so great. It's like the 49ers. Just plug somebody in.
Yeah.
No shot at Doug Williams at all. He had a really nice career, but by the time Doug Williams got to the Redskins, he was old and broken because he had spent all of his years getting the snot kicked out of him as Tampa's quarterback. So, listen, he was good, but he wasn't a great franchise quarterback. Same thing with Mark Rippon. Mark Rippon had one good year. I like Mark Rippon. He's a very nice guy. I've met him. His daughter is super hot, right?
It's very important detail. We cannot leave that one out.
But same thing with Mark the Ripper. He had one, dude, you were throwing to Sanders, Monk, and Clark.
Yeah.
To this day, still the greatest receiving trio in NFL history. Okay? There's not, name a better trio. There ain't one. So, yeah, there ain't one as a trio.
Was it Irving? What was that? Was it Irving, Dion, and
you can't count Dion. You can't count Dion.
He played right.
It was Alvin Harper, Michael Irvin, Jay Novacek was the tight end. But
Jay
those
Novacek,
were the only.
thank you.
Yeah. So, but hey, look, Donnie Warren was catching passes for us, and Rick Doc Walker. Like those teams were great. We need a quarterback, and we need a coach, and we ain't got neither. So I just need them to keep losing.
Well,
I just need to. It would have been poetic justice to have my own team in Survivor and them lay an egg against the team that is the worst team in the National Football League.
you're so glad you got them out of the way, didn't you? In Survivor.
Oh, brutal.
You're like, thank you. Just get them off my calendar. Yeah. All right. Fair enough. Well, sounds like we have very similar sentiments about our teams right now. So, Let's jump over to the Ravens and Texans. Texans at the Ravens. Also kind of like a rainy day, kind of weird day there. But the Ravens get the win 25-9. I don't really have much to say here. I didn't get to watch much of this game. Unfortunately, there was a pretty substantial injury that came out of this game. JK Dobbins tears his Achilles and out for the year. So even though
prayers, brother.
Yes, that's a terrible thing. Had that's happened to some friends of mine. Not fun. Long recovery. So don't know what that means moving forward for the Ravens, but they do get the win against the Texans.
Yeah, I mean, not a lot can come out of this. We know Houston, they're going to be what Houston is, which is not very good, right? I think. But the first half, they really hung in there. First half, it was like, 10-6 or something? So they really hung in there. D'Amico Ryans, he's trying
7-6, yeah. Yep.
7-6, yeah. D'Amico Ryans, he's trying to make chicken salad out of you-know-what. So
yeah, he'll get there.
I love D'Amico Ryans. I like what Houston's doing. I'm not sold on Stroud, but I'll give the kid a shot.
I like Stroud better than Richardson.
Good.
From what I've saw between the two of them, yeah.
Maybe. Yeah, I'll agree with that. Yeah. But I still don't. Ohio State quarterbacks. I mean, look, we had another one show up yesterday that all I heard was this MVP talking. It looked like he couldn't put his cleats on correctly. So I got to see an Ohio State quarterback do something before I ever become a believer. But Baltimore, they were not impressive, but I'm not going to throw shade at them because new offensive coordinator and you didn't have the offense out there at all in preseason. And I know what people say, oh, well, you have these inter-squad scrimmages. They get all their reps in training camp. Listen, there is no way to simulate an NFL game without playing in an NFL game.
Right.
You can't simulate the speed. You can't simulate, and even preseason's vanilla, but at least you're out there playing, right?
Sure.
Now you can look at the flip side and be like, well, the Rams look pretty darn good. So, and they look atrocious in the preseason. So I think Baltimore is going to take them a couple of weeks to get going. Now, next week they're at Cincinnati. They're catching 3. We'll kind of see how this moves.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. And then moving on to the afternoon games, I'll be honest with you, I really didn't catch most of these because Jake was over at my house and we were glued to the Dolphins-Chargers game, which we'll talk about. But, from what I heard and what I saw, the little I saw, the Packers and the Bears, Packers going to Chicago, and the Packers, even without Aaron Rodgers, still own the Bears. So maybe it's Jordan Love owns the Bears now. I don't know, but it looks like he had a good day. I've heard I heard good things about him from everyone else. And the Packers get the win 38-20.
Hey, listen, Packers have now they've won like 9 in a row or something against Chicago. Or Chicago's only won one of the last 9 or something like that. Like I said, I think Green Bay, you don't move off Aaron Rodgers regardless of his antics unless you feel good, because that's a really good roster. And they didn't have Christian Watson yesterday.
No, he was out. Yeah, he was out yesterday.
He was out. So you really have to be in love. 15-27, 3 tubs, 123 rating, right? They ran the ball with a lot of different guys. The Bears are just the Bears. And I said this before, until Chicago wins, and I'm going to be the guy that is extremely late to the party on the Bears. I'll be like the last guy that hops on because they're the Bears. Yeah. It would be like telling me the Arizona Cardinals are going to be good. I just can't fathom that. Because this is what the Bears. And look, you might say Fields 24 of 37, but he's throwing little 5-yard passes, folks. He's throwing little 3-yard. I mean, his average pass was 5.8 yards. Do you realize how many 2 and 3 yard and behind the line of scrimmage yard passes he's throwing? Right. And I get it. You want the ball out of his hands, blah, 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 this, that, and the other. I just don't see it. I just don't. And all you guys out there with Justin Fields MVP tickets, do yourselves a favor. Walk over to your stove turn the pilot on and just stick that ticket in there and then sprinkle it across your scrambled eggs for breakfast this morning.
I'm pretty sure those are only guys at ESPN that have those tickets.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I don't have much to say more about that. So the Raiders and the Broncos, the Raiders go into Denver and get the win, 17-16. Garoppolo, 200 yards, 2 touchdowns. Man, my Broncos, man, what happened? Come on. How did they look, though? Seriously, did you get to catch any of this game?
I didn't. Again, I was driving back we had fall league for basketball. But we did have the Packers in the teaser, but we had the Raiders plus 4.5. So outright winner with the dog there. And as I texted in our group chat last night, well, look who sets atop another division as the leader. Old Jimmy G, right? 20 of 26, 200 yards, just efficient.
Yeah.
Efficient.
That's what he
right?
is. Yep, he's efficient.
Now, the Raiders didn't run the ball well. 19 carries, 48 yards for Josh Jacobs. Jacoby Myers, 9 catches. Devontae Adams caught 6 balls. Hunter Renfrow wasn't able to play. And now the Raiders, again, it's not cold in Buffalo right now. The Raiders go to Buffalo and you're going to give them 10.5?
Oof.
I mean, that's a lot of points to give old Jimmy Pornstar G. So, Jimmy G string, as they call him.
Jimmy G string. There you go.
Yeah. The flosser.
The flosser. All right. Eagles and Patriots. Eagles go into Foxborough and get the win, 25-20.
Brutal.
Jumped out to an early lead, but honestly, the Patriots hung in there. Again, another team that I didn't expect much from this season. What a good division that they're in, though. All those teams are all solid.
Yeah.
Mac Jones comes out and 316 for 3 touchdowns. Did get an interception, Patriots hang in there close.
Mac Jones looked like the return of the Mac. He looked like Alabama Mac. So. Yeah, return of the Mac. But
if it was for YouTube, I would have that ready to go playing every time we talk about Mac Jones. Oh, well.
Patriots defense looked very good, right? Philadelphia, again, weather, Tom Brady's jersey being retired.
That's right. Yeah.
Playing Bill Belichick. I'm going to give the Eagles a pass because now you play Minnesota. So. But I see some holes with Philadelphia. I see some holes. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
See some holes.
Yeah. I mean, I expected a little bit more points. But AJ Brown had some good catches I saw when I tuned in here and there. 7 receptions for 79. So, I mean, they obviously got some weapons, but I don't know. Maybe you're back to calling him the coach captain highlighter again. I don't know. Let's see how the rest of this year goes. Because last year you really laid off that talk as we went into the rest of the season.
Yes, he grew up. It's kind of like the scene out of Big Daddy, but I can wait my own that. So he really grown up. I'm a big fan of him now. But listen, reality is losers in the Super Bowl typically struggle the next year. Trends are trends.
Yeah.
And you lost both of your coordinators. And you lost, Hargrave and Johnson. And so you lost some key pieces. Listen, and I think having an offensive coordinator and all that, there's a lot of things that made a difference for New England. But if you're Philly, you still have to be concerned with the fact that the New England Patriots, the team that does not throw the ball a lot, and Mac Jones throws the ball for 316 yards on you.
Yep.
Like, that has to be a concern.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I just, I want to see how it plays out for the Eagles. Because the soft part is the beginning, really.
Yeah. Yep.
I mean, their schedule gets tough and brutal as it goes along.
Yeah, we've been over their schedule. It is pretty tough. The game of the week, I would call it. Dolphins at SoFi playing the Chargers. Dolphins get the win 36-34. Tua just monster numbers, 466 for 3 touchdowns. Of course, most of that was Tyreek Hill, who also had 215 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think, obviously, what I expected was this big shootout. I didn't see as much of the shootout side on the Chargers as I expected. Their run game looked really good, which was kind of surprising. And it was a great game. Obviously, it went right down to the wire, but yeah, it was. I was really kind of thinking, wow, I was really expecting more out of Justin Herbert from the passing side in the air raid, but they really got it done on the ground to keep it close. So yeah, we watched this game together, Jake and I, for most of it. I was grilling actually, but I was trying to kind of keep, because I had a little same game parlay on this guy that I didn't hit, unfortunately, but because of Justin Herbert not throwing as much, but yeah, it was a really exciting game to watch.
Well, look, you have a defensive coordinator as a head coach. You have all year, all off season to prepare for the very first game. So the first game should be when teams look their best.
Yep.
So I can't come out and criticize the Washington Redskins and then not talk about, can we start having serious conversation about Staley working a drive-through window at McDonald's?
Yeah.
Because this isn't going to work. I don't know what it's not going to work. And I don't want everybody to tell me about Kellen Moore, okay?
Yep.
Because, look, if he was so great, you would have been able to block somebody that last drive.
Yep.
Okay?
Yeah, they just moved.
For Miami, again, I've said this and I've said this. I've been wrongfully accused, just like OJ wrongfully accused until the evidence comes out.
Pretty hard on you on the whole Tua thing.
I've said if the guy can stay upright, Miami's an AFC championship type team. He's an MVP type guy. The thing will be, can you keep him upright?
Yep.
And the first time he takes off out of the pocket, somebody needs to grab him and say, if you run next time and don't get hurt, you don't have to worry about it because I'm going to punch you right in your face.
just
throw the ball away and let's punt.
Just do the old Peyton Manning where you just fall down like this,
Yeah. And then Tyreek Hill, boy, Kansas City, wouldn't you love to have that guy?
Oh my gosh.
But it's all right. Kansas City's got Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. They got dudes. They don't need Tyreek Hill.
And they don't need Chris Jones either.
No.
Let him go.
Trade him to Dallas because Dallas really needs him, don't they?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Gosh, could you imagine? God, we'll talk about that in a second. But, yeah. Well, see, we've talked about the Chiefs sold. This all might start coming to fruition here, depending on. But, yeah, no, Tyreek looked amazing. And, what can you say? Great game. Who do the Chargers have next? Oh, yeah, Titans.
They're at the Titans, laying 3.
If we beat them at home, this could bolster your argument for old Staley boy because, gosh.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to get that dub, AJ.
Well, no, I don't know. Maybe not. Doesn't matter. All right. Last game on the afternoon before we jump to the night game, which is there's not really much to talk about there, but the Rams travel to Seattle and get the win 30-13. Geno Smith, not very good. And Matt Stafford, actually pretty good. I was like, well,
Without Cooper Kupp.
Without Cooper Kupp.
He was throwing to what? Atwell and Jefferson?
Yeah, Atwell. Yep. Mm-hmm.
The old Tyler Higbee, he's always good for a couple catches. Listen, like I said, Sean McVay, he's going to figure out a way.
Yeah.
Again, if you roll back to episode 78, 79, 80, somewhere in there, I was like, oh, the Rams +6. And y'all were like, what? No, Seattle's going to be great. And all I've heard is Seattle, Seattle, Seattle. I listen to everybody else. And again, I just got to go with my gut. Geno Smith sucks.
Yeah.
Listen. Everybody can have one good year. It's just like betting. And there's people who be like, oh, John, college, you've started out trash. And, NFL, yeah, you had a winning record this weekend, but, it was only like a game over. And the last thing they're going to remember is we lose the Giants straight and we lose the Giants in the teaser. They get blown out, right?
Yeah.
And so everybody's going, it wasn't that great. Here's the reality of the situation, folks. anybody can have a winning day and anybody can have a winning week, right?
Yeah.
And it's no different in football. Everybody can have one great season, right? They can have, I mean, look, Lamar Jackson was a league MVP. I get so tired of hearing, oh, well, he's a former MVP. You're right. I'm glad you laid out the key word, former, because he didn't look like the MVP against Houston, right? Same thing, Seattle. It was one good year. Now the Geno Smith, his whole career, West Virginia, the New York Jets, it has showed back up. This is who he is. This is who he is.
Yeah.
Right? So for Seattle, just a horrible pick on my part. I should be,
Ashamed.
drugged behind a trash truck for 4 hours, to pay back everybody that I had to take Seattle -5.5. And now in the circa millions, I've put myself in such a hole. I need the Jets tonight. Can you imagine going 1-4 the first week? What I got to do to pull out of that in the circa millions? Jesus, Mary and Joseph.
Yeah. How many? There's like tons of people in that, right? I mean,
yeah, that's 6,000 or something like that.
Jeez, yeah. Yep.
So, as the old ball coach would say, not very good.
Right.
But, Seattle's just, they are what they are. They're not a good team. Chop was on here talking about, man, that defense is sick. Man, that secondary. And all I heard on my satellite radio driving back, because Seattle, and it's actually a good thing that the Giants got beat as bad as they did, because had the Giants had covered that number, I had a parlay that all it needed was Seattle money line that would have brought back over $10,000.
Yeah, you said
if
that.
the only loss had been Seattle, I can't imagine what state of mind I would be in right now.
Yeah, so you're saying the Giants losing just kind of like made that one not sting as much?
Not sting as well. I would have liked to at least won the teaser. I mean, you think you're getting the Giants 10.5, you're thinking what could go wrong? Well,
sheesh, yeah. Yep. Did you see I saw this clip this morning and I was getting ready to jump on here and there was like Aaron Donald seemed like he was looking great yesterday. I mean, he's kind of back in his, normal form. But like was rushing Geno Smith and he was like, Geno Smith said like, "Oh my God," or something, like screamed, "Oh my God." I don't know if it was real because it was like a TikTok or something. Like, so I didn't, but did you see that?
No, I didn't.
No, I'll have to go look that up.
But who knows? He's a buzzard.
Yeah. Well, when
he is what he is.
I guess it's, fair enough. Yeah, what's there to say, man? Going into last night, Cowboys at Giants, I definitely expected more out of the Giants. I'm a little bit more of a fan of Daniel Jones than you are, but oh my gosh, I mean, because I thought they had some weapons and Saquon and some young receivers and gosh, but their offensive line didn't look good. Their defense really didn't look that good. Dallas's defense looked great. Dak was serviceable. 40-0. Cowboys go into is it MetLife? Is that where they were last night?
There's no life there.
There was no life in MetLife.
I mean, that looked like an Indian tribe going in and just scalping and taking the whole village. Like,
yeah, there was like
it was
the Comanches
bloodbath. Yeah, it was a bloodbath. First of all, that defense is really good.
Yeah.
That defense is really good. But Daniel Jones, he didn't even have, I can't even grade him because he didn't even have,
oh bad.
Collinsworth at Tirico had like clips like 1.17 seconds from the time he snapped the ball to the time a Cowboy was on it. He couldn't even get to the 3-step drop. So it's really hard to evaluate the guy objectively, right? So, listen, Dallas is good, man.
Yeah.
But offensively, Brandon Cooks being healthy, they traded for him. He had some big catches.
Yeah, Brandon Cooks. Yeah, he did have some, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And this is where I will say it proves my point on everybody that's been so enamored with Kellen Moore, right?
Yeah.
Everybody's been so enamored is the fact that,
McCarthy's
the offense
plays now, right?
Yeah, McCarthy's gone plays. granted, Dallas didn't have to do much because the defense took care of it and special teams pretty early. But when they were on the field, they were extremely efficient.
Yep.
And they looked really good. And so I just say that to preview. I'm not going to hop on the Dallas bandwagon because Dallas always turns into Dallas. However, this is going to prove that just like Staley, Kellen Moore is overrated, and together they equal hot garbage. Really, I need you to get a clip of the Dumb and Dumber when they're in their orange and blue tuxedo and put Staley's head on one and Kellen Moore's on the other. Can we do a TikTok of that?
Yeah, sure.
You know, because that's what they're like coaching. Overratedness to the height of heights of height. And Brian Daboll, right now, he's got to keep one eye on the Chargers and hope they keep losing, because last night just reminded him, NFL stands for not for long, so I can't hang around the Giants very long. I got to get somewhere where there's some talent.
Yeah. Yeah. So you're saying that by the fact that the Cowboys are still doing what they're doing and Kellen Moore's not there, you're saying that he was overrated by what everyone was saying he was doing while he was the offensive coordinator in Dallas?
Yeah.
Makes sense. All right. Well, we're going into Monday night, and this will be out before Monday night. I'm not sure all of you will listen to it before Monday night, but it will be out and available before Monday night. So let's go over our thoughts on the Monday night game. The Buffalo Bills traveling into MetLife as well. Is that right? They're playing at this same stadium 2 nights in a row?
Same stadium because of 9/11. So both teams got a home.
Yeah.
Which, I'm glad the Giants came out fired up to, represent the city for 9/11.
So,
Jesus.
2 New York teams, Bills going in. Jets, I'm excited about this one. Again, we've all been down on the Bills a little bit, and I've been pretty high on the Jets, so I'm definitely watching this game as much as I can. Actually, I have a little engagement I have to go to, but I'll make sure I'm tuning in for most of it.
Engagement. Does Bree know that you're engaged?
No, she doesn't. No.
All right.
An engagement.
Tennessee,
engagement.
Utah, polygamy all around the U.S. now. I get it.
Yeah, they're all cool with it in the South. Yeah. You guys got to get yourself some Southern women. They're cool with that type of stuff.
Y'all do you. Or multiples, whatever it is y'all do down there. I mean,
do you?
It's
do
like
others?
A fantasy.
Do multiple of
apparently,
others?
Tennessee and Utah, it's like a fantasy draft. Yeah, I got this one starting at wide receiver, this one at running back.
Yeah, it's more like a bullpen, but yeah, exactly.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, think get your starter, and then you got your bullpen. Never mind, doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. You better hold the God. She doesn't listen to this part. So I like the Jets plus the 2. I'll probably lay the $1.50 and buy the point up to plus 3.
Yep.
I'm a point buyer just because there's certain numbers. But let's, the money, 56% of the money right now is on the Jets. Worries me a little bit, but I expect a little bit of Buffalo buyback here. But I got the Jets in the circa millions. I was going to have them in the teaser plus 9, which I would have loved, but the Giants blew that up. So I'll take the Jets here again. I'll probably give those out, or I will give it out straight to everybody. So Jets plus 3 by the point minus 150. And listen, for the Jets, not only do they have to get off to a really good start, right? Because there's a lot of hype. It's a division game. Like this is just, but the other thing, like, because I already looked ahead this morning at next week, right? Because now it's, got to look for a way to pay the bills next week gambling. Next week, they go to Dallas. And the way the Jets' offensive line woes look in the preseason and in training camp, if they drop this to Buffalo, that's probably not the place to go get right after what I saw them do to the Giants' offensive line. Because the Giants' offensive line is better than the Jets' offensive line.
Jeez,
Daniel Jones's legs got him out of trouble a lot last night.
He did run a lot. Yeah.
He ran a lot. Aaron Rodgers is 40 years old. He's not
He's not
getting
running.
away from. Oh,
He might run once.
because there was a couple times I was like, how did Daniel Jones get away? Like,
Yeah.
And they still got beat 49. So this is a big game for the Jets. Like, this is a really big game for the Jets. If they drop this game again, we talked about this earlier in the show. You're staring 0-2 down the barrel.
Yes.
And in Buffalo, you know, they've had a lot of controversy over the offseason. A lot of stuff, right? I think McDermott's did a great job. However, you know, people come into your life for only a season. Have you heard that?
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, I think that's the same way with coaches, you know, come into your life for only a season. I think McDermott's did a great job, but I think for the Bills' benefit and for his best benefit, right? It's probably time they part ways because I don't think he can get the Bills to the Super Bowl, but I do think there's places you look around the league and you're like, okay, Sean McDermott could turn that team. He's a really good coach. It's just you peak out with certain organizations. I mean, look, Phil Jackson was winning titles after titles with the Bulls, right? And he said, hey, look, I'm not, you know, I'm gassed. I can't do a rebuild. It's, you know, the team needs to hear another voice now.
Yeah.
Right? Like that happens. And I think that's where Buffalo's at. So you got that dynamic and Stephon Diggs not having Von Miller, all the kind. And then you got the Jets that have been the soap opera of the NFL with Aaron Rodgers and Hard Knocks and the offensive line woes, but everybody's still yet picking them to go to the Super Bowl. And, you know, so it's going to be a clash, but listen, one of these New York teams has to represent, you know, on 9/11. So today is officially 9/11. Again, our prayers and thoughts for all those people back on this tragic day. That changed our country and the world forever.
Yeah.
You know, it was really cool. Both Dallas and the Giants wearing the fire department hats. I expect that and the NYPD hats again today with the Jets. So, you know, prayers with all those families and thank you to all the men and women, firefighters, paramedics, police, everybody that lost their lives trying to help. And even those survivors, just still the most, you know, I would say between that and Pearl Harbor, the two most crushing days on U.S. soil ever.
100%.
So we want to make sure we pay respect and homage to that. But switching back to a sports side, one of these New York teams has got to play in honor of those people. So I'm going to say it's going to be the Jets. We're going to take the Jets. It's +2, lay the $1.50 and buy it up to +3, and hope that they don't have a disaster like the New York Giants had last night.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. That would not be good. Not very good. All right, cool. Well, we wanted to get you guys a quick episode on Mondays. You guys know we're recording on Mondays and Wednesdays now. Get the episode out on the podcast by Monday afternoon or early afternoon. Same on Wednesday. And then the YouTube will be up a little bit later than that. But we're going to keep this nice and tight today just because we wanted to get our thoughts over about the weekend and get those out to you quickly. So we're going to do that ASAP. And then obviously we'll be back again on Wednesday. John, do you have anything from the betting corner before we bid adieu to our lovely audience and winners out there?
Yep. I want to run through the NFL lines for next week real quick.
Yep.
Thursday night, Minnesota will travel to Philly. Line opens 7.5. It's now setting Philadelphia Eagles laying 8. Green Bay Packers at the Atlanta Falcons. This line opened Green Bay -1. It's up to -1.5. Again, not to be a prisoner of the moment, but I really like Green Bay there. Chicago travels to Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay laying 3. Seattle at Detroit. This opened Detroit -5.5. It's already up to Detroit -6. Raiders at the Bills. This one opened 10. It's still setting Buffalo -10. Chargers at the Titans. Chargers -3 on the opener, and that's where it's still hanging out, having a cup of coffee. Ravens at the Bengals. Ravens catching 3 at Cincinnati. Big game for the Bengals. Again, don't want to stare that 0-2 hole. Not only that, the Bengals could go 0-2 in the division, AJ.
Yep.
So, I mean, they could really bury themselves here. Colts at the Texans. This one would be a barn burner. Texans laying 1.5. So,
Yeah. All right.
maybe the only game Texans will be favored all year. Kansas City and that amazing receiving corps minus Tyreek Hill will go to Jacksonville. Kansas City, it opened 3, still laying 3. San Francisco at the Rams. San Francisco opened -7. It's still at San Francisco -7. Of course, Kyle Shanahan has absolutely owned Sean McVay. New York Giants at the Arizona Cardinals. Giants open -4.5. It's still Giants -4.5. You got to wonder after that disaster. Jets at the Cowboys. Line open Cowboys -3. That's where it's still at. Washington at Denver. Denver opened 3.5-point favorites. It's up to Denver -4. Miami at New England. That's the Sunday night game. That's going to be a good one. Miami open -2. They're still -2. And then Monday night, these Monday night doubleheaders make no sense. You got a game that starts at 7:15 and one at 8:15. What are they doing?
I don't know.
Why do you got 2 going at the same time? Who's doing this?
I don't like this. I don't like this
at all. Well, you got 2 games at the same time on a Monday night. Monday night standalone. If you want to do the doubleheader, I know you say, oh, well, on the East Coast, viewership. So have them at 6:30 and 9 o'clock, right? I don't know. But Saints at the Panthers. Saints open 3. It's down to Saints -2.5. And listen, this one already some heavy line movement. Pittsburgh open -1. A lot of Browns money coming in. Browns have flipped to the favored. Browns -1.5. Okay. So, note to leave you on real quick. Don't overreact, right? The NFL is such a week-to-week thing. Everybody thinks about what they saw the previous week. Go off of what you're studying and what your synopsis before the season was, and give it the first quarter of the season. Give it 3 or 4 weeks to really see, okay, was the work I did right or was the work I did wrong? And that's really where I'm at now, is like trying not to overreact week 2, right? Overreaction and overreacting to things is how the book wins money. So you got to stay level-headed and really, again, shut out the noise, which I preach that, and I've did a horrific job of doing that. So, hey, there's that. YouTube, AJ, big thing going on with YouTube. A lot of people not happy. College football, they have the 4-box screen. Apparently, you can't do that with the NFL and customize it.
Nope.
But look, if they can ever get that dialed in, I wasn't home. I get a free YouTube subscription because of the sports book I'm with, one of them. So I want to, how was it? Did you watch YouTube NFL?
So what I did was, I don't have the ticket, so I don't know. Are they saying you can't do the 4 split screen with the ticket?
That's what they're saying.
Oh, okay.
Can't customize it.
I don't have the ticket. So what I did is I did a split screen between the 2 games that are running at that time local, and then I just bounced back and forth to Red Zone on commercials. That's what I did yesterday. Right. Yeah, but you can't. I would love it if I had my main game and Red Zone on one side. It doesn't let me do that. Maybe that'll change. But yeah, okay. Bummer. All right. Well, that's one negative about YouTube TV that we haven't said anything negative about so far. So interesting.
Yeah. And then break the board. I know a lot of you were calling for that, right? We said things have been working. So break the board will be back and in full effect Monday through Friday. So we will that will start back on Thursday this week. So we'll be running break the board early in the mornings. You guys should have that for your lunch breaks at work or your car rides home. It'll be streamed live on YouTube. Yep. So AJ, if you want to plug all that stuff, and let's go get the Jets tonight. We need to end the week on a winner, for the love of God.
Let's do it. Yeah, and then obviously on our Wednesday show, we'll break down both slates more in depth based off of where the lines are at that point. But it's good that you're bringing up the opening lines, because Monday is a great time to look at that and see kind of how you might get some value moving into the week. But yeah, that's going to do it for us today. Like John said, we'll be back on Wednesday, and then Thursday will be the start of Break the Board. Again, you can find that on YouTube. That is not going to be on the podcast feed right yet. We're still working to get that up and live, but it will be live on YouTube, and it will be on the feed after it's done being shot live. So it'll stay there even if you don't catch it live. The YouTube is at youtube.com/at BCCS Sports. So you can check that out there. Of course, follow us on all of our socials at BCCS Sports or Bustin Chops Callin Shots, wherever you're on social at. And of course, if you guys are listening to this, please go subscribe to our YouTube and give us some love over there. And if you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to us on podcasts, wherever you listen to your podcasts. So that's going to do it for us today. Like I said, keeping it nice and tight. Let you guys get off to your Monday. Enjoy September 11th as much as you can. Hug your loved ones. Pay homage to all of those that we lost on that fateful day. And enjoy Monday Night Football. We will see you guys again on Wednesday.
Love you, my winners.